Welcome back to the next video. We've got lots to do today, and as you can see with my homepage, I've added a fall theme as today is October 1st. Anyway, it has very little bearing on this particular project. I just did that for fun, and I actually did take the idea from a YouTube channel that I really like. It's called Online Tutorials, and he does some pretty amazing stuff, so I encourage you to go in there and check that out. Maybe I'll put the link to that in the video. Anyway, I just did it for my own enjoyment. Maybe in the winter time I'll switch this over to snowflakes. So the next thing I do want to do is you should look at this particular video here. This is Simon Allardyce. He does these videos on lynda.com. This is from 2010, but it's still relevant today. And I've watched a lot of Simon's stuff in the past on lynda.com, or now it's LinkedIn Learning. But his stuff is one of the best around. So I wanted to share this with everybody. Now, I've put the link down here, or the title, so you can just search that on YouTube and you'll find it. This is a really good video, and the point of this video is to explain what SQL Server is. Okay, it's not a database, it's a management of database systems. Okay, so I really strongly encourage everybody watch that video and then come back to finish off the video that we're doing here. So this is about 9 minutes long. So if you're watching this video, then definitely pause this, watch Simon's video, and then come back to mine. Second thing I want to point out is, if you don't have it already, you actually do need to download SQL Server. Okay, so you can go to the Microsoft page here. Just do a quick Google search for SQL Server download, and this will pop up. Okay, and if you're on Windows, Linux, or Docker, just do your installation. Okay. There's also, you find SQL Management Studio. Okay, so in the last video I talked about actually confirming whether you have it on your computer, and I typed in down here services. Okay, so when you type in services, this window should pop up here, and if you go down all the way to the S's, okay, so I'm in SQL. And you see here that my SQL Server, the status says that it's actually running and that it's automatic when I start up. That's because I already have SQL Server installed. Okay, so it's important that you understand that. You actually have to have it installed. If this is not working or running or even in there, that means you actually have to go in and get a copy of it, install it, and then go back and do that confirmation that it's actually running on your computer. Okay, so it's a really important step. Okay, so you have to have this. It's really important to note that if you want to run your database locally, you must have that service running. Okay, you must have your SQL Server running. Okay, so without the actual engine, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have the SQL Server installed, and you need that engine to do any database management. Okay, so make sure that when you run the installation, you are actually checking off the database engine component. Okay, you need the engine component to make this all work. If you didn't do that during your installation, then you can kind of reinstall it in the sense where you modify the installation, and then you can check off the database engine component. Okay, so you don't have to do a full reinstall. You just have to modify your installation and check off that engine component. Okay. The other issue is that this only works on Windows. Okay, notice this is all Microsoft. So this is, if you are on a Mac, you cannot run a local Windows database. So that's another kind of hiccup for you Mac users. I have a Mac desktop as well, but I'm doing all this on PC. So make sure that you kind of get yourself around this problem if you're a Mac user. And I think on the installation you can do this through Linux anyway. So there are ways around it, but it's best honestly if you're doing this right now on Windows. So I've opened up my Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and what I've got, the first tab here is this database engine, and this is my local server. So if you want, you can go browse for more and look for different networks and stuff like that. But in my particular case, this is the name of my computer. So I'm just going to stick to that and then do Windows authentication, stick to that, and do a connect. Okay, and so when you see it open up on the side here, you can see that I've got a couple of databases already that I've created. And I've got this Georgian Groceries. That's the one that I did in the last video. So throughout this, I'm going to continue to build this on my local server. And it's only because it's going to keep it much faster for me. But I will at some point go through how to connect it all into Azure as well. But for now, what I want to do is make sure that I'm just doing this locally. Okay. And when we get into our Georgian Groceries, notice I don't have any tables. Like there's nothing that I've defined as tables. So we can go through that soon and figure out how to set up all of our tables in here. So in the last video, I actually showed how to connect your Management Studio to your Azure database. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that part again, but just so you know, in the last video, I did show how to make that connection. So I'm going to go now into Visual Studio. Okay, and I close that. You don't need to know anything about that right now or this. So what I want to do is look at the models that we've already created. So when I go into my categories folder, remember we've got name and we've got ID and we had that category. Okay, and we've got this apps setting .json. Okay, let me close that down as well because we don't need that. And we're going to spend some time right here talking about this. We want to make that connection. Okay, so this line here, line 3. Okay, this is your this is a vital line of code here. This is what's going to connect literally your database to your application. Okay, this is your connection string. Okay, and remember that because we're going to come back to it several times in the future. But the default connection here is it's broken up into a couple of different things. Okay, and it's actually it's a long line of code, but notice it's broken up by a couple of semicolons there. Okay, so the first part of this, here's another one here. Okay, so we've got the first part we've got to deal with, the second part, and then there is another semicolon in here. Okay, so what I want to do is show you really quickly where I'm getting the information that I need. Okay, so if I go back to my Management Studio, and what I've got is the properties open, but if I go to here and I click on my database that I want, okay, and what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to click on it and go to properties, but just so you know, it's the same information up here as well. So I'm trying to filter out the noise a little bit. So when I look at this, it says right here, my server is desktop K611UMR. What I'm going to do is just take everything out of here right up to that point, and then I'm going to type in what my server name actually is in my database. So this thing here, this desktop / K611UMR. So that's what I really need. Okay. The next piece that I need, I only need the name. Okay. So I can get rid of this and I can get rid of everything up to that semicolon there. Oh, and I forgot the little dash. So just the name of my actual database that you see right here, Georgian Computer, or Georgian Groceries. Okay, and then the last part that I need is, because I'm gonna just run a local database on mine, I've got all this stuff at the end here. What I'm gonna do for mine is I'm just going to change mine to this integrated authentication, and I'll set that to true. Frustrating. Okay, and I'm gonna leave that. Now I do have some sort of an error in there. Sorry, that's not a semicolon at the end. That's actually a matching quotation. Okay, because this is it's actually a string. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna use to set my connection string to connect my database to my actual application. So if in your application you actually had gone and set up this SQL Server authentication, you'd have this login and password. Okay, and because I didn't do that on mine, what you would actually have to do is go into yours, and let me just duplicate this just to show you the difference between the two. What you would have to do after this, you wouldn't be putting in this line of code. What you would be putting in would be ID would be equal whatever this was that you had there as your ID, and a semicolon, and then password. Okay, which would be whatever you put in there as well. Okay, so I don't know what that's going to be, but that's where you would put that in there if you were using setting it up your database using the SQL Server authentication. Okay, but because I didn't do that for mine, what I'm using is just this line here on line 3. Okay. So if I was using my Azure database, then I would update this to be my server name, okay, the database, and then my username and password. Okay, so that's the only real difference in there. Okay, so I'm doing this locally, I'm saying what the name is, and then I'm putting in my username and password. That's how I'm going to connect into Azure. So there's now another file that we need to go to. Okay, so imagine that's the first time you're opening up your web application. Okay, and we've got this file here, this startup.cs. Okay, and as I open that up, we might have introduced this in the very beginning, but if you look right here on line 28, it's configure services. Okay. And within that method, that configure services method, I hope you notice this line right here on 32. This is my default connection. So if I go back to JSON, okay, I've got my default connection. Okay, so this is what we're gonna take a quick look at right now. So at the moment, we really don't need to do anything in here right now. Okay. And I want to point out a couple of things. This line right here, it says use SQL Server. Okay, so that's our server engine that we talked about in the beginning. And this connection string is already set up, like I just said. Okay, but now what I want to do is, this is a class. Okay, this is class georgiangroceries.data.application DB context. Okay, so this DB context is an important thing. So if I highlight this, okay, you'll see that it appears in two different lines, on line 30 and 34. I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to say go to definition. Okay, and what that's going to do is that it actually takes me to the class. and you can see it popped up over here. It's application dbcontext.cs. Okay, so we got a bit of work to do inside this particular file right now. So this particular file, even though I opened it up through a shortcut, it's actually in the data folder. So right over here you see data and then application db context. That's where this file is located. So even if I close it out there and then I double click on it, it just moved it to the other side of the screen, but here it is. This is where it's located. So this line right here, oops, sorry, this is our class. Okay, so this application database context, and here's our constructor. Okay, and notice that it's inheriting from identity db context. Okay, and this constructor, you know, it's going to build an object. So maybe the best analogy to use for this is it's literally going to make a cable. Okay, it's going to construct a cable that is going to connect the two objects. It's going to connect your database to your actual application. Okay, so that's what really this does. So remember when I said earlier that we don't actually have any tables inside of our database. Okay, well, that's still true. But what we're going to do, and this is a pretty powerful thing that we're able to do in this .NET Core framework, is that we're actually going to model the classes in the project first, and then we're going to use this migrations tool to connect the database. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reference those models through our connection class. And then we run this code that is actually going to generate the tables that will go into our database. Okay, so traditionally in the past, you may have built out all your tables in a database and then gone back and then done the connection, and maybe you're using PHP to make the connection between your web application and your database. In this particular case, no PHP whatsoever for us to do, but what happens is we're going to go build the models in the actual project, and then we migrate those. Okay, and then this code is going to generate all the tables that we need inside of our database for us. Okay, absolutely powerful. So I happen to know for my web application, for my grocery store, the things that I'm going to need. I'm going to need a bunch of models or tables. They're going to be product, order detail, and my cart. Okay, so again, that's product, order detail, and cart. And for right now, I'm just going to leave the categories alone for now, but I'll come back to it. So, okay, so what I'm going to do now is actually go in and do my product model. That's the one I'm going to start with. Okay, so I am going to close up some of this stuff. I don't need everything open. And I'm creating a model. So I'm going to highlight my model. I'm going to right click and do an add. And down at the bottom, I will do class. And I'm going to call this product. Okay, just going to call it product. And add. And you see here that it is created my class called product. It's in my Georgian Groceries .models. Okay. So my product and my category both have a relationship. Okay, so what I definitely want to do right now is I want to go over to my category. Okay, and I'm gonna create that relationship. Okay, because obviously products do come from a category. So I need to make sure there's a relationship between my two tables. So this is going to be public list. Okay, and I'll put these square or these brackets, and this is going to be product. Okay, and you can see that the class is right there already. And then I will put products and you can see it's looking for it. Okay, so there it is, products, and then get and set. Okay, so we're good for that line right now. And there's another thing that you can do is actually, I believe it's prop and then tab. That kind of gives you the framework for what you want to add in there. It's a shortcut, so you can just do the editing as opposed to doing all the typing. So I'm going to take that out of there because I don't want it in there. Okay, but now I'm going to save that and go to my products. Okay, now there's something I want you to keep in mind. This is not a database course or series of videos. That's a separate subject altogether. What we're doing now is we're going to create some models or database tables, and then we got to connect them. So the focus here is not to actually do to learn database relationships and stuff like that. So the first thing I am going to do is I'll paste that thing in there that I just took out of the other one, and this one I'm actually going to call product ID. Okay, and Microsoft likes to use ID for some of its naming conventions. So instead of something like a SKU or SKU, it would want product ID. Okay, so I'm going to put in another one. This one's going to be prop tab, and I'm going to change this type to a var char. Let's see if it picks it up. So maybe I've got to do a capital var. No, it doesn't seem to want to do it. So let's see what happens there. Property type. Okay, we'll come back to this in a second. I just want to get all my stuff in there. So this one's going to be a name. Let's go with this. So there. So that was interesting. I'll take that out of there and go to name. See what happens. I'm not worried at the moment. Let me just get all my my stuff in there. So prop tab, and my next one is going to be a description. So okay, and instead of doing all that other stuff, I'm just going to add this. So not a description. This will be a photo. Okay, I want to maybe have a photo of the product that I want to sell. Okay, let's do price. Okay, price. Okay, and this is definitely going to be not an integer, decimal. Yeah, I'll do this. It's going to be a decimal. And then at the bottom, I need to actually do I need to have this category ID. Oh, lowercase. So if we go back to categories, okay, perhaps it is ID that I want, but I may have to actually change that to category ID. Okay, so the big challenge here is that I need to refer to my category. So if I'm in products and I need to refer to my category, it can't actually be a type integer, okay? So what I need to do is actually instantiate an object of category. So you can see it showing up right there on the IntelliSense. So I need to have that in there, definitely. Okay, so this is what's connecting between category and products. So when I go back to products, now you're seeing my list of products in my category. Okay, so let's go back and let's just change that to a string for now. Okay, that's starting to bug me. Anyway, let's keep going. So I suspect some of my stuff with my tables is kind of out of alignment here. That's not a big deal right now. I can come back. I'm just trying to build out the nice framework for now, and then I can come back and clean it up. So I think what I'm going to do is now go back and actually create another model, and I'm going to call this model, it's a class again. Okay, class, and I'm going to call this one order. Okay, this is just like that. I'll just call it order, and it'll give its own file extension. So now I'm in order. I'd like to just kind of clarify one thing. I think I'm gonna put a note in here that this is going to be my primary key. Okay, just my ID is going to be the primary key. Over here, product ID. Now I'll make this my PK. Okay, primary key. So I'm going to stick with that naming convention as well. So even if I do that here, prop tab, and I have an order ID, ID. Oh, that should be a capital ID. And again, I'll call this my PK, my primary key. So I've gone in and I've just kind of populated everything that I feel that is necessary, with the exception of another item in here, which is going to be my orders detail, because this class is going to have an actual relationship to the order details model that I still need to make. Okay, so right now I've got order ID, which I'm using as my primary key, order date, customer ID, first name, last name, address, city, province, postal code, phone number, and total. Okay, so my order total is something that I need as well. For now, I'm going to just stick to decimal. I don't think I should have any problems. Maybe I switch it to a float later, but decimal is probably good enough for now. So right now I need to figure out what's going to be my relationship to my order details model, even though I haven't created that yet. So I've put this in there, this line here. Okay, this is my child reference to my order details. And obviously I've got an error because I actually haven't created the order details model or class yet. Okay, so obviously that's going to be the next thing that I want to put in there. So one more time, I'm going to go over to models, right click, add, class, and this is going to be called order detail. Okay, and there it is. Now if I go back to my orders, notice now the error goes away. Okay, so I'm going to do a save all. I'm just going to take a moment and do a build. Okay, potentially I could have some errors, but I don't. So let's go to order details in a sec. So I do believe that the items that I want to see inside of my order details are going to be product ID, lowercase d, I suppose. Product ID. I want order ID. I'm gonna want quantity, and I'm probably gonna want price. Okay, so I'm putting all those in there now, just more as placeholders than anything. So those are the things that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna want on the order detail. Okay, and I think one more thing I'm going to be missing is probably my primary key. So this is going to be order detail ID. I'll do a capital. Okay. So that's what I think I'll have this as my primary key. Okay. So I've gone and I've created basically the details for what I want. Inside my order detail class. Okay, so I've got order detail ID, that's my primary key, product ID, order ID, quantity, and price. Okay, and I've got a little bit more to do, and I'll explain what else is going on in here. Another thing I need to do is look at this relationship product products. Okay, so when I go back to products, I'm going to put this in here. Okay, this is my order details for products. Okay. I've decided that I do want to come back to this category ID. I paused the video for a bit, and I want to be consistent. So I want to be consistent, and it was kind of bothering me that I didn't have that as my primary key. So I'm trying to create the same using the class name with ID to make my primary keys consistent. Okay, and order detail, and right here, so order detail and my primary key. So I'm keeping everything consistent, and I've got one more class that I do want to add in here, and then I'll tidy everything else up. So I have one more model that I'm going to create right now, and that's going to be cart. Okay, so I'll call this cart, as in a shopping cart. Okay, and inside my cart, obviously cart ID, okay, is what I want to definitely have. So if I do prop tab, nothing happened. It totally screwed that up because I already had the word in there. So prop tab, and I'm going to call this cart ID. Okay, and I'll put a note in there. That's my PK. Okay, what else do I want to have in there right now? I think product ID. Okay, and what have I done prior to that for product ID? Okay, I want this. Where's my cart? I want my product ID in there, and I would like date created. So we're going to call this date created. Okay, and what's my data type going to be? Something different than that. Okay, so I think I've got a little bit of update here I'm going to do. So definitely that's not going to work. So date time, I'll go with that data type date time for that. What else do I want? I do believe I want this. I'm going to go with this string. Okay, and then this one's going to be a customer ID. Okay, and I want another one, and this one's going to be. I think I'm going to do I leave it as an int, and this is going to be my quantity. Unless I've already, yeah, I'm good there. And I think that's good, but I need to do this parent object reference. So here I'm going to do a public product. Okay, and then product. And that's going to be also a get and a set. Okay, so get, set, oh, there. And I need to go and do an update on my on another table. Okay, so I'm going to go over to products and do a little quick update there. And I'm just going to copy this because it's just faster for me, less painful for you. And I'm going to update this to be cart. Okay, and then this will be carts. Okay, and get and set. So that's all. Oh, sorry, I didn't spell it right. So I'm just going to leave that child reference there. Okay, so right now I'm going to save all this stuff, and I think now is probably a really good time for everyone to take a break, and then I'm going to go in and kind of make sure that I've got everything the way I want it to be. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this as a decimal or a float or something, but for now, I'm just going to go through, take a break, go through and check that I've got everything the way I want it set up. Okay. So I wanted to pull this table up. This is kind of the this is what my database is aspiring to turn out to be. Okay, so in here you can see the different relationships that I've got between the different tables. Okay, and you're seeing all the primary keys and the foreign keys and all that kind of stuff. The one I haven't really dealt with too much right now is my users. For now, let's not worry about that. Just focus on categories, products, carts, order details, and orders. Okay, and then these are all of the different attributes that I've got inside my my database. Okay. By the way, I do believe this comes from Microsoft. I didn't design the table. It's actually part of an online tutorial from Microsoft ASP.NET, I believe. So just so you know, I didn't come up with this and I didn't normalize it, but it is out there. So if you want, you can look at this, but keep in mind, if you're doing this or you're coming up with your own application, it's going to look drastically different than mine. But ultimately, this is what my project is aspiring to use. Okay. And the reason I don't need the users table is because it actually is already built into the identity framework. Okay, so that part is for the most part taken care for us. We're still going to use it, but I don't think we're going to make the actual table for it because it's within the identity framework itself. Over in our packages. Okay, so inside our package managers, the identity framework stuff, it's going to take care of the username and ID and all that stuff. Okay. So the next really important thing that I want to do, because I want to get into this migration stuff, is I want to be over in our data applications DB context. So this file right here, I'm going to move that over. Okay, so I want to be in this file. Okay, and this is what's going to help us set up all the migrations. Okay, so I've got a note in here. What I want to do is I want to define our model classes. So our controllers, okay, this is so that the controllers that we have will be able to access the models. Okay, now notice over here in my controllers, I don't have all my controllers yet. Okay, like I said before, we're going to do several steps kind of simultaneously with this migration and then scaffolding. Okay, so right now what I need to do is actually create 5 definitions of our model classes that we've already created. So right over here in models, okay, we've got categories, or sorry, cart, category, order, order details, and products. Okay, so the way I'm going to write that is going to be like this. So it's going to be public, and it's going to be DB. Okay, and you can see it comes up here, but I need set, DB set. Okay, and the first one I'm going to do is going to be category. Okay, does it come up? No. Category, did this come up in here? No, it didn't. And so what I'm going to do is categories. Okay, and this will be get and set. Okay, now it didn't come up, and the reason is, okay, models category. So using Georgian models. Okay, I click on this, and you can see that my models namespace is actually in there now. Okay, so I've referenced to that. So that's the one for categories. Now, what else do I have? I've also got carts. So I'll do that one right above. Okay, so I want to match the order of the what I see in my tables, not CRUD. So this will be carts. Okay, and the next one I want to do after that is orders. Okay, and I'll change this to orders. Orderee. Okay, so orders. Okay, and I'll copy this. This one will be order details. Order detail. And order details. And do I have all of them? Products. Okay, so I need products. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'll do the next one. The final one will be for products. Okay, and that is here. Product. And there. So I've got all of those in there right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that, and I'm actually going to do a build. Okay, I'm not going to do much more. I'm just going to do a build. So I have 2 more things that I need to do really quickly. It's a lot of code, but it's not that bad, trust me. Okay, but I want to point out that the application DB context controller, we're not going to have to worry about that. We're not going to touch that, okay? So right now what I have to do is override the model creating method. Okay, that's the first part. And then inside that, then I'll have to define my relationships. Okay, so the way I do this, and keep in mind that this particular one is protected. So you can see protected, it's called override void on model creating. Okay, and you can see that it's a library method, and it fills in everything else that I need it. So model builder, and then base dot on model creating builder. Okay, so what I want to do is actually move this comment up 1 line, because this is the next piece that I need to do. So what we're going to do is just talk about our relationship. So I'm going to put this builder dot entity right here. Okay, and what we're going to talk about is product. Okay, and this relationship is so we say dot has 1. Okay, and this is a method, and we're going to just say p, okay, equals arrow p dot category. Okay, so every product only belongs to 1 category. Okay, so the next thing is so let's keep going there. And so I've got to category. Now I'm going to do a dot. Okay, and you can see with many popped up. And we'll do, it's a method, c equals arrow c dot products. All right, and then this is going to be dot has foreign key. Okay, and we'll give it that, what the foreign key is going to be. It's another method, p equals arrow p dot category, and I want this one to be category ID. So I'll just type in that, but then I'll do ID. Okay, so let's just continue on, and I might be able to solve that issue with that the spelling of that. And then dot has, okay, constraint name. Okay, and this is going to be f key underscore products with an S underscore category ID. Okay, semicolon. Let's see if that goes away. So the issue that I'm getting here is it says product does not contain a definition for category ID. Okay, so when I go into my product model, right, what it's saying is I don't have anything that says category ID. Okay, so how can I be trying to set this foreign key when in my database I actually never set the foreign key? Okay, so what I will do is I'm just going to copy this, copy, and I'll put it, yeah, I'll put it down below. It's not going to hurt where I put it, but I'm going to change this to ID. Okay, notice that it's in there now. So when I go back to here, now it says, oh, okay, got it. I see it. Good to go. Okay, something I kind of want to draw your attention to also is that I did go back and change all of my foreign keys to the name of the class plus ID. I did that for all of them. I did that for category ID as well. And so what might happen is when you go, if you're following along and you do this, you might see that yours may only say category, or sorry, correction, yours may only say ID. It's going to throw an error. Okay, so when I changed my category model in here, you've got to also go and update that in other locations. Okay, so on top of that, I believe I've got it even in the view. So just be aware that, you know, naming conventions are really important and they have to be consistent throughout. Okay, so let's go back to our context and let's keep going and see what's next. So we've got more relationships that we've got to do. So what I will do is I'm going to copy this again. So if I were to look at this, say in this view again, okay, you can see the different relationships, right? So I have to go and check out those different relationships I've done. So I've done categories and products. So this line here, that's what I've done so far. Okay, so now I'm going to redo this next one. So copy, I'll do the next one, and then I'll get in there and actually update this one here. So this is going to be order details. Order detail has a product, should it be order details has a product, and let me see, ID, oh sorry, let's see how this all goes. Order details, and then product ID, and then we're going to call this and product. Okay. So I do have I've got an error in there, and I think that shouldn't be product ID. Let me just check. I'm going to look at my product. Okay, I've got product ID. And it could actually be that I don't have just this. So I was getting this error here a minute ago, and I'll go over to where it was happening. So I didn't actually have this line in here, so I was getting this error right here. Okay, so the good thing is I read the note. It said order detail does not contain a definition for product. Okay, so I read that through, and it kind of narrowed it down to me that I had a problem in my order detail. It said show the fix. Didn't want to accept any of these. but it did kind of give me a clue where my issue was. So it kind of told me that, hey, you've got this line right here in my order detail for order and order, but it's basically saying, hey, you don't actually have one inside your you don't actually have something for product. So it gave me the clue to go over here, and then I realized I actually didn't have this relationship here, this product. Okay, so I had to put that into there. So now if I go back to my context, I'm kind of right where I want to be, and everything looks right so far. Okay, so I've got same thing as up here. I just did some editing. Okay, because I have to define those relationships. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically I'll copy all this, copy, paste it, give it a bit of space, and I'm going to change this now to cart. Okay, and this is product. That's still good. Change this to carts. Okay, and product ID, and then I need to change this to carts. Okay. And product ID. So that one seems to be good. And I'm going to have to do this at least another time, because when I look at this relationship, what else do I have? I've got more relationships here. Okay. So let's go have a look at that too. So this one here is now going to be converted to order detail. This will be changed to order, and over here we'll keep the order details, but we need to change this to order, and order details.product ID. Okay, so we're good with those relationships that we have between all of them. So what this is every time is you're looking at the actual what the table is, or the model. Okay, we've got product, and we're trying to connect that to the category. This one we have order details, and we're connecting to product, the product table. This is cart, and again to product, and order detail to order. Okay, which is what we've been kind of looking at in here. Okay. So I've just put some comments on what the relationships are. So that's product and category, product and order detail, product and cart, and order detail and order. Okay. So what I'm actually going to do now is go to my Team Explorer, and I'm going to push those changes. Update of application DB context, relationships. Okay, and I'm going to commit those, sync, and push. Okay, finally, we're going to get to a really powerful thing. And before we do this, I do want to tell you that you could have gone into your Management Studio here, okay, and gone to your tables and done new tables. You could have done it all that way. You could have actually had scripts that you were running in here. You could have done all your scripts and then executed scripts to make all your tables if you wanted to do that as well. But Microsoft is actually recommending now that you do it the way I'm about to show you, which is to build your models first and then generate your tables from the models. So this is the new way that they're doing it. And so what we're going to do is go to Tools, okay, NuGet Package Manager, okay, it's halfway down, and then Package Manager Console. Okay, and this is a PowerShell. It's kind of like a console application. Okay, and in this part, we're going to type in this following line. We're going to type in something, it's add, migration, create initial tables. Okay, so I'll go to here and it's going to be add hyphen migration space create initial tables. Now I want to make sure I spell that properly. Okay, create initial tables. Okay, and I'm just gonna hit enter. And it's starting to build succeed, and you'll notice here I've got this error. So that means I now have to go through and start looking for some bugs that I've got. Okay. Okay, so I had a couple of issues back in my DB context. This should have been switched to order ID. And another issue was in my, not my category, but in my products. I actually had, I think this one was written, I had these wrong. Either way, I made the changes, and what's happened is now I've gone to my, into my package manager console, and I wrote this code. And if you want to just, instead of having to retype it, you can just press the up arrow. So if you look at here, I'm just pressing my up arrow, and notice it puts it in there. Anyway, I pressed it after I figured out all little tiny minor bugs I had. What it did is that I got this build started, build succeed, and then what it actually created was this file right here. Okay, and this is under my data migrations. Okay, and it's this file right here that it created. Okay, so let's really quickly look at what's in here. Okay, so you see I'm inheriting from migration, and I've created my initial tables. Okay, and as we go, you can see I've got all these different, I've got my categories in there. I've got my orders table in there. So you can see it here. Here's categories, here's orders, here's products, here's carts, and finally order details. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that was migrated into there. Okay, so what else does that mean for us? So you can see, like, these are all, it's basically generating a whole bunch of SQL scripts for us. Okay, and we're not fully done yet, because what I want to do is I want to go over to my management. Let's see if I can do a refresh. Okay, I don't have more tables in there. Okay, Georgian groceries, here's my tables. I still have to actually do that. So now what I want to do is go back into my my console, and I'm going to type in this. This is what I'm going to type in, is this update database. Okay, now I'm going to hit enter. Okay, starting to build succeed. Look, I've got one error in there so far. So let's go and see what's going on there. Okay, so there is a minor issue here. Okay, what I want to do is I want to see if I can go back to what I had before. So this is what I had at the start of this video, and I was getting a problem with this word authentication. Okay, so what I did is I actually updated my whole entire thing, and I actually changed the word security, so integrated security. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is instead of integrated authentication, go to integrated security. Okay, then go back to your package manager, do the up arrow, and then do update database. Okay, that should actually solve your issue. So if you look at mine, when I go back into my Management Studio, I go into tables and I open it up, and you can see that all of my tables are actually there. Okay. So I'm going to do a couple of things just to play around. Okay. So what I've done is I've just gone back to my original default connection. I've changed that word to security. Okay, from authentication. Okay, and now I think what I'm going to do is I just want to test an idea out. Okay, so I'm going to go to my order table. Okay, so when I go into here and I go to order, okay, if I look at all my columns, you can see I don't have an email. Okay, there's nothing in there for email. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to just make email. Okay, we'll call it e-mail. So it was complaining about the hyphen in email. So I'm going to add email, and I'm going to do a control KD just to deal with all my formatting. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I could technically go into here and just kind of add something in there manually. I could go into my models and start doing stuff differently, but I want to do this migration thing because I think this is what makes it so powerful. So now I'm going to go back to my manager console. Okay, and I'm not going to do this update database. What I want to actually do is similar to the previous command. Okay, this add migration, and we're going to call it it will still be the add migration. Okay, but instead of create initial tables, what we're going to say is add, and we're in the order, and we're going to say email. Okay, and I'll hit enter. Okay, it's doing a build succeed. Okay, and then now at this point I want to do my update database. Okay, so I do an update database, started, succeed, done. Let's go back to we're in orders. Okay, remember we did not have anything for email, and when I refresh that, okay, it's just taking a second, too much of a second. Okay, took a few seconds, but it's actually there. Okay, we're in right there at the bottom, our email. Okay, so that's now part of it. It's in there. I had to open and close this a few times and stuff like that, but it's finally down there, right down at the bottom. Okay, so I was able to actually update my table just with a few quick commands. Okay, so that's a lot more powerful than doing it maybe in a different method. So this is why Microsoft is recommending that we do it this way: build the models and then do the migrations. And I personally, I really do like doing it this way. Something that I should point out is the last time we actually ran that script that we had over here in our migrations folder. Okay, it ran the tables. Okay, but now that we did the update on the tables, it's right here again. So what happened is it actually created another migration over here. So you should be aware that that does exist. Okay. Okay, so just quickly to review, we've got new models. We've actually updated our tables inside our database. Okay, we confirm that they're there. But what we don't have for any of those models other than categories, we don't have controllers and we don't have views. All we have, as you can see here, is a bunch of models. Okay, and so now it's time to do something called scaffolding, where we can take everything we've already done before and now create the controllers and the views out of those things. what we're going to do is we're going to go to controllers. This is something we've kind of done for the first two, the home and store. So we've got our controller. We're going to go on there, onto controller. We're going to click add, and we're going to say controller. Now we have this option to use 6 different ways of doing this. But what I want to do now is I'm really interested in entity framework. Okay, that's what I really want. So an MVC controller with actions and razor views to create, read, update, delete, and list entities from entity framework data context. Okay, so it's important to understand we've been working with data context, okay, or your DB context. So that's why we're going to select this one. Okay, so I'm going to hit add. Okay, now what do you suppose the first thing is? Our model class. Okay, it's telling us our model class. So I think what I want to do, because the first new view we created in our store was our category. So I'm going to say categories is the new controller that I want to have. Okay. The next drop down, what is our DB context class? Luckily for us, there's only one. Okay, Georgian Groceries. Okay. Okay, so we've got those two things there. Now we're going to stick with our common look and feel that we've had throughout, which is this underscore layout.cshtml. Okay, now the other thing is, notice when I selected my model class for category, it automatically starts to populate the name of my controller. Okay, so before I select this, I want you to think about it for a second. How many views are going to be created by what I've just done? Okay, think about that for a sec. I'm going to go ahead and select add, and you can see that it's actually doing a lot of different crunching there. It'll take a second. Okay, and I'll pause the video until all of this is done. Okay, so it's done. We've got our categories controller. Okay, and what are you seeing in here? Okay, and I'm going to give you a hint as to how many views without looking. Okay, but just know, like normal, we're inheriting from controller. This is our categories controller. Let's go and look at the different IA action results. Okay, I've got an index, details, create, edit. Did I miss any? Delete. Okay, so for the most part, I have at least 5 views. Okay, so let's go to our views. We're in categories. Open that up. I've got create, delete, details, edit, and index. Okay. Think about that and let that sink in for a minute, how much code I didn't have to write to get all that stuff. So this one here, this file, we're at what? 153 lines of code. If I just go to my views index, I'm sitting at 36. Edit, I'm at another 35. Details, 25. Delete is 28. And create is 34 lines of code. Okay, we have done an incredible amount of code without actually writing any code. Okay, so let me close all those out. Delete, details, edit. I'll close this. I'm gonna close that. Okay, and a lot of these I really don't need right now, so I'm gonna dump them. Don't need store controller. Nope. And I don't need orders. So right now all I've got is I'll even turn that one off. I've got my categories controller. Okay. And I've got my index open as one of my views. Okay. So I've gone and I'm running my my code here, and I'm going to go over to my categories view. Okay, so I'm in categories, and let's suppose we do a create. I create a category. Let's do meat. Okay, and let's do create. So I create, and what you're seeing is I've now got a category called meat. I can edit this. Okay, I can get details, which I don't have right now. I can go back to list, and I can go in and delete meat. So I no longer have that in there. Okay, so it's pretty powerful what we've been actually able to do. And when I use this create new, notice the URL updates to my create page. Okay, so what I'm saying is create a category, type in the name, fruit, create, and details. I don't have any. Okay, edit, back to list, and delete. I'll just delete that again just to show you how that all goes together. All right, so it's pretty powerful what we've actually been able to do with very little actual coding that we've needed. Okay, so just a couple of little things I'm going to tidy up here. So I don't like that it says index right there, so I'll change that to add a new category here, and I'll save that. And when I basically just go to my page and refresh it, it's going to update to this, to add a new category here. Okay, so just to kind of note, we've got this store over here. Remember we said add a new category? Well, we're going to deal with that because that's a different thing altogether than what we want right now. So if I'm up here and I say categories, oops, okay, okay, update that. Takes me to this page now. Okay, so let's go in and just do meat, add that. Let's say dairy, both things I hate. Fish. Okay, create, I don't know. Let's junk food. Okay, create a bunch of those things. You notice that I'm just starting to add to the different categories that I want. Okay, so if I were to go into my Management Studio, and if I were to go into categories, into my column, okay, and do a refresh in there, let's check and see if this is actually getting sent to my thing. So select top 100 rows. What have I got in there? Right now you can see I've got meat, dairy, fish, and junk food. Okay, so that's a great sign because that proves to me that all of my data that I'm typing is persisting, and it is going into my database. So I'll go back to my actual page, and I'm going to delete junk food. Okay, delete it. Okay, it's deleted, and now what I will do is refresh my column, and I'll go to select top 1000 again, run that query, and notice here my junk food is gone. Okay, so if you got to this point in the video, you are severely doing great. You're going to have to do this for an assignment anyway, or if you're just watching along on YouTube, you can, if you want to learn how to do this, this is all the stuff you got to go through to do it. Okay, so I'm not going to try and deploy this to Azure today, even for an example, but what I do want to do is I want to go through this process again and create a controller. And I think the best one that I want to do is going to be product, because I want you to see that relationship between products and categories. So I'll go back to controllers, okay, add, right, controller, and we're going to go with this entity framework again. Okay, so we'll go to add, and the model that I said I wanted to do, because we've already done categories, but I want to do product. Okay, and I'm going to keep the same look and feel, and it's the same data context model, same look. products controller, and I'm going to hit add. Okay, so when we look over here, we've now got our products controller, which was generated from our products model. And in our views, we now have create, delete, details, edit, and index. Okay, so let's go over to our page. And instead of categories, let's go to products. Okay. Okay. So what's really interesting here is you're noticing that I've got this category. Okay, so if I want to create a new category, or sorry, a new product, okay, so I'll type in, I don't know, beef, okay, now I go chicken, okay, I can do a description, we'll get to the photo later. I want to make a Walmart inventory. Wow, I don't know where that came from. Price, and notice here already my category ID. Okay, this is coming from meat. Okay, so that relationship is already now built into what we're trying to do. Okay, so that's pretty interesting from my point of view. I hope it is for you. I think that's pretty powerful. I don't have a photo. I'm not going to describe it. I don't know what the cost of chicken is, but let's just say 10 bucks. I don't know. Okay. I really honestly don't know because I don't eat the stuff. So we're going to go to create and non-free chicken. I don't know what's going on there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't even know what all this crap is here. I'm going to delete that. Chicken. Okay, I'm having a problem here, right? And I know why I'm having a problem. I also don't have a photograph. Okay, I haven't done that piece yet. So let's just go with that for now. Okay, so what you're seeing is that I created chicken. I can edit that. Okay, back to my list. I can get some details out of that. Okay, and back to list, I can go to detail. Okay, so I'm going to go in and delete that because obviously my description is a problem. My price is a problem because I don't have that set to currencies. And obviously I don't have a photo of the chicken in there either. I just wanted to show that there's a relationship that exists over multiple views that we've created between category and the actual products. Okay, so notice the URL up here. You know, we're in the products controller and we're calling the delete method. Okay, so if I go back to my products controller and I go down to delete, if I can quickly see it, that's edit. It's right here. Okay, so I'm now into my delete. Okay, is that the one I wanted? Doesn't matter. That's close enough for today. What we wanted, our delete method. So you can see these notes here. This get products delete 5. Okay, but the important thing is I wanted to show you that if I go back to the list and I do edit, that my edit URL, my products controller calls my edit method and sends me to that view. And it's actually taking me to this first item in my category. Okay, so now if I go back to categories, go back to here, and you can see meat is the first one. Okay. Let's see, do we have any details that have changed? No, nothing has changed. Okay, so you can see that that relationship definitely does exist between the two tables. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do today is knock it off there. If you're in my class, you're going to have to do your assignment, and fairly soon you're going to be expected to get to this part in your term assignment. So my advice to you is if you're doing this and you're building a database for this, spend some extra time and get that database correct. Okay, make sure that it's normalized. Make sure that your relationships with your primary key and your foreign key are all proper. But most of all, if later on you want to add some sort of a feature to this, remember what we did with the migrations. Okay, that's going to be the easiest way for you to go in and update all of this stuff simultaneously. Okay, so we did a lot today. We covered a lot of ground in this video. So I'm just going to knock it off there and wish you all the best going forward with this, and have a good week. And I hope you enjoy my fall theme. When we get into the winter, I'll probably change that over to snowflakes. Okay, and maybe who knows what it'll be in the spring. Anyway, hope you have a good week, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.